Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder when I drop the kids off at school and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning, listeners. It is a very gloomy August 28th. It's a Tuesday. I just dropped my son off at school and I'm walking home. This will be the last Tuesday where I get to walk home after I drop him off. Starting next week, the day after Labor Day, which is a holiday in the U.S., I will be dropping him off and then walking up to catch the 8:21 train downtown for my very long day of teaching. So, last day of not having to go in for teaching, although I am going in for meetings and such, just not today. So I hope you're all doing well. It's been a pleasant summer for me. Looking forward to getting started on the school year. Lots to do. My game buying hasn't slowed down as much as I thought it would given the budget constraints, but I've got an artificial economic engine running while I still have Warhammer miniatures to sell. Gives me a little extra scratch to buy some games. Lets me ease into the whole not buying games as quickly thing. Speaking of which, I did decide to pull a trigger on a game which I think like 3 episodes ago I said I wasn't going to buy for a while, and that's League of Six. I mentioned that I didn't want to buy it until I had played Shipyard and 20th Century in case it turned out it wasn't that good. Well, it's got decent reviews, and it turns out the feeling of wanting to have Vladimír Suchý's entire collection overwhelmed the possibility that League of Six wouldn't be very good. I found a used copy on Boardgamegeek, and with shipping it's under $30, so I decided to go ahead and get it as a way to complete my collection. And it's got me contemplating, I don't know when this will happen, but I really want to find a time to do an all-day game day where we start at like 9 in the morning and we go all day and we play 5 games. I'll call it Suchý-thon. Or Suchý-thon, depending on how it turns out you pronounce his last name. Or Vladimír Apocalypse, I'm not sure. Suchý-thon, I think, is better. Or Suchý-thon. Anyhow, it would be back-to-back plays of all of his games. And in order to keep it somewhat manageable or just a little bit less crazy, it would be 5 games. We would start with League of Six, then we'd play 20th Century and Shipyard. Then we would play the super game of Prodigal's Club with Last Will and the Getting Stacked expansion all together. And then we'd play Pulsar 2849 as the capper for the evening. I think it sounds awesome. I believe all 6 of these games support 5 players, which would be great because then I could invite 4 other people to come over and we'd all play all 5 games. Sounds super awesome. I need to get Shipyard, 20th Century, and League of Six played a couple times each so that I'm confident in teaching them. But sometime, maybe I will make that one of my goals for 2019 to have a Suchý-thon. I should find out when his birthday is and try to do it on his birthday. That would be really fun as a celebration of Vladimír Suchý, who is not my favorite designer, but I'm definitely thinking second favorite if I had to make a list today. Martin Wallace being first, obviously. So I asked a couple episodes ago for questions. I made a Q&A thread on the Boardgamegeek Guild, and I have gotten a couple questions. So I think I'll take a little time to answer those today. I may get through all of them, or depending on my freewheeling and rambling style, I may not get to them all, in which case I'll defer and answer another in a later episode. Keep them coming. If you have questions for me that pop up during your listen and you want to have me address them on air, that'll be a nice way for me to generate ideas for the podcast. So I'm going to keep the thread over there going, and I'll just bump it occasionally. So if you have questions for me, let me know. So the first question comes from user Kegs, or Jason Keglevitz. He says, since you tend toward breadth over depth in gameplays, as you've said, how do you choose which game you're going to play? How does that change depending on if you're playing with family or your game group? Do you sometimes choose something from your shelf of opportunity out of duty obligation, even if there's something else you'd really rather play? So I would say my breadth over depth play in part comes from the fact that I play with so many different groups of people or kinds of people. That because I play with my wife, who doesn't like really complex games, and my daughter, who does, and my game group, who I can probably find a group of 2 or 3 people to play anything on my shelf at the game group, and my in-laws or my mother, who tend to prefer the slightly lighter stuff, what you'd call lightweight or middleweight games. Because I have all of these different gaming friends, it makes sense to me that I have all these different things I might want to play. If I only liked deep war games, that would much more limit my chances to play anything. Actually, I was just telling my son on the walk to school today that part of how I get to play as many games as I do is that I play what the people I'm playing with want to play. For the most part, or I'm usually willing. That's the omni gamer in me. But in terms of how I decide what to play at any given time, yeah, it's usually a combination of things I've been thinking about lately, things I've read to the rules to lately, and what's new. What's new is a significant factor in games I play. I really enjoy replaying games, and often with my family I end up replaying games because they already know how to play those. But often when I've got something new that I can get on the table, that's my preferred thing. I love new experiences. So just this week, for instance, I played Raids, which I'll talk about in my end of the month episode or beginning of the month episode, and I got to try Raptor also. I lean towards something I haven't played before, all things being equal. Although generally with the games that I sort of have a hankering to play, I will plan ahead to play those. So that's part of why I do like the top of the stack, where I pick 3 games I'm going to try to play that month. Often that just helps me provide an obligation to do the thing I wanted to do anyway, but it makes decision making a little bit easier because I said, hey, I'm going to try to play these this month, so I better play them. So if the sound quality is getting a little rougher here, it's because it's raining right now. Hopefully you can still hear this and I don't have to scrap the whole episode. I will say that my habit of tracking games, tracking how often I play things, tracking out of the dust plays, which I've started in the last couple months, tracking my shelf of opportunity, all of those things have helped me to focus what I'm doing in a way that helps, say, clear the shelf of opportunity or helps me kind of prioritize, right? List making is a good way for me to not let the squirrel, as they might say on Rolling Dice and Taking Names, distract me from whatever thing I wanted to play right now. That's a nice way to sort of feel some accomplishment. I also am a big fan of those setting the long-term goals, that the idea that I would play 10 for 10 is a really good motivator for me. When I'm packing my game bag, I try to put at least one game from my 10 for 10 in the game bag so that if I have the opportunity, I can mark a game off of that list. It also, again, helps me with my planning. Like, I knew in August my wife and I would have a fair amount of time to play, so it was fun to structure into my planning the Arkham Horror card game, which we got 7 played. So hopefully that answers your question, Jason. I think ultimately new tends to win over old on any given play. But I really do like going back to games I enjoy and digging in a little deeper. I'm trying to get in the habit now of when I play a complex game, playing it again within a month or 2 so that I can solidify the rules in my head a little bit more and the relearn later isn't as strong, isn't as difficult. Because with the number of complex games I play, if you don't play them a couple times, then you have to relearn them, and that can be particularly annoying as well. Thanks for your question, Jason. Hopefully I answered it, and we'll have some more from you. Our next question comes from Chris Hickman, or Christopher Hickman. He says, you often claim to be an omni gamer, as I did just a minute ago, but there are obviously games that have fallen short of your expectations or don't align with your tastes. Describe some of those experiences, especially if it was a game you were very excited about. Good question, Chris. I think omnigamer, for me, says that you don't see a particular category of game as a thing you like or don't like in general. So, as an omnigamer, if somebody had a Warhammer set up and said, would you like to play? I'd probably say, yeah, sounds cool. Or, like a coin game. Overall, counterinsurgency games built around sort of military tactics don't excite me that much. But if the opportunity to play one came up and somebody was ready to teach it, I'd give it a try. So for me, being an omnigamer tends more toward the idea that I'm open to new experiences, and I haven't yet settled on things I definitely won't play. There might be games I wouldn't play, but mostly those would be around taste. Like if somebody had Operation Barbossa, which is it's like a deck building war game, but all the characters are almost pornographic anime girls in Nazi outfits, I don't think I would play that. Or Tanto Curie, which is about hiring sexy maids. I'm not interested in playing that. If there were a rethemed version of it that used the mechanics in an interesting way and the theme weren't odious, I would give that a try. But so that's kind of it's maybe more content that would drive me away from a game rather than other things. But so for me, omnigamer is more about what you consider the kinds of games you're willing to play or willing to try. Now, there certainly are games that I don't enjoy. I'd say the biggest one that puts me at odds with a lot of the game community is Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is an interesting game. I can see why people like it. But at its heart, it's a negotiation game, right? It is, for people who haven't played it, it's a game where you are trying to land 5 spaceships on planets. And if you get all 5 of your spaceships on other people's planets, you win. You land spaceships on planets by invading and doing all sorts of rigmarole. But the big part of it is that you're playing these combat cards and using your special powers and negotiating with the other players about who's going to help you or not. And the game's got a couple weird mechanisms where like 2 people can win at the same time if they both get their 5th ship on, or 4 out of the 5 people could win. Though that's not maybe as satisfying as being the only one that wins. But a big part of it is this sort of raw negotiation of, are you going to help me or not? Do you want to help me or not? And I don't know, there's something just about the way the game interacts. I just don't really like it. Now, to be fair, it's been a couple years since I've played it. Maybe if I played it again, probably next time I get the opportunity, I'll give it a try, because omnigamer. But that one is one that I consistently see people saying they love, and I don't. Let's see. I tend to find lightweight, thinky games less compelling than other people seem to sometimes. For instance, we just got Azul, and I think it's good. I definitely enjoy it, and I like the puzzle of it, but I don't think it's great, and I don't really see why everybody else does. So maybe that would be another one where it doesn't live up to the hype for me. Other games that are disappointing. As much as I heard about Zombicide, I thought that game wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be. In part because I already have Last Night on Earth, and for me it feels like the same game, or very, very similar. And I guess I was hoping it would be more different than it is. So I'll point out those as 3 that kind of fell short. I'll think about that a bit more. I think like a lot of hobby game commentators, I'm not really all that keen to spend a lot of time focusing on things I don't like. But I think it is useful to sort of see where negatives are for people, so that helps you shape your own taste, what worked and what didn't work for you. So thanks for the questions, Chris and Jason. Hopefully we'll see some more show up on the forum. That's not all that we're there now, so I still have more questions to use in future episodes, but hopefully there'll be even more. Thank you all for listening today, and I hope that your next walk is as pleasant, if less rainy, than mine was. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games. Yeah.